What's going on, everybody? It's Derek. This is the fourth episode of 5 Rounds with Franco. We're going to be going over the card Robert Whitaker versus Darren Till on ESPN Plus tomorrow night. Currently watching Bellator at the moment. Some pretty good fights, so I'm sure those UFC fighters will want to follow up and execute tomorrow after seeing all these fights. But yeah, there's some really good fights tomorrow night. Some really good matchups. Some pretty fair odds. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we have Kamzat versus McKee going tomorrow, starting off the main card. Kamzat actually fought 10 days ago, took 0 damage, did all the damage to his opponent. Wanted a quick turnaround, and 10 days later he's getting another fight against McKee. I think Kamzat will go ahead and get the victory. I think he'll go ahead and get the finish in the second round. I think he'll get the second round finish by submission. The dude is a monster. He reminds me actually of Habib a little bit, in a sense of just his style, just the way he is, the aggressor, the shit talker in the octagon. He's an absolute beast. And I think he's gonna get the finish, second round submission. Second fight is the Alex Oliveira versus Peter Sabata. This is actually one of my favorite fights on the card, just because Cowboy Oliveira is always fun to watch, and Sabata is somebody who's coming up, in my opinion, in the sense of this dude comes to fight every single time. Whether he wins, he loses, he's always standing right in front of you, and he's obviously trying to get the job done. But he has a big task in front of him. Alex Oliveira is obviously very well-rounded, jiu-jitsu wise, stand-up wise. He has fought some tough competition. I am gonna go with the Sabata here. I do believe Sabata is the underdog. But I think Sabata may catch him. I think Sabata, if he does win, I think he may get the finish in the first round, KO. Alex Oliveira, like I said, is a absolute monster. But both these dudes are going to have their hands full tomorrow night. But victory-wise, Peter Sabata, knockout, first round. Then brings us to the third fight. Paul Craig, cannot stand that guy, against Antigulov. Antigulov is a beast. Paul Craig, he's just a character, man, in my opinion. He's more of a WWE star than a UFC fighter, in a sense of his antics. And if you're gonna talk shit and do your thing and make a big commotion, let's have some nice victories. You know what I mean? But Antigulov, I think, will go ahead and get the victory by decision. I do think this could be a possible a knockout, though, with Paul Craig getting knocked out. I do think that is a very high possibility. But if I had to put my money on it, I think Antigulov will get the win by decision against Paul Craig. Going on to the women's fight on the card, Carla Esparza versus Marina Rodriguez. It looks like it's pronounced Rodriguez, but I'm going by John Anik's terms, and John Anik is the man when it comes to announcing the names and how to properly say it. So Rodriguez versus Esparza. This is going to be a fun one. Rodriguez is somebody who stands in front of her opponents and will just strike for days. She actually kind of reminds me of Joanna Jędrzejczyk a little bit. And Carla Esparza is somebody who, she can take damage, but she also has some high wrestling game. We saw Cynthia Calvillo try to take Rodriguez down, and I think Cynthia Calvillo actually did take her down a couple times, if I'm not mistaken. And Carla Esparza has one of the best wrestling backgrounds in that division. So I think if Carla Esparza can close the distance and get her to the floor, she has a high possibility of winning this fight. But with Rodriguez's length, with Rodriguez's striking. I think she can keep the distance. I think she will keep the distance, and I think she will knock out Carla Esparza via third round, and she will get her hand raised at the end of the night. Woo! It's a good one. Alexander Gustafsson versus Fabricio Werdum. Alexander Gustafsson is one of my favorite fighters of all time. The dude is a beast. In my personal opinion, he beat John Jones in that first fight, and then he just got demolished in the second one. But in that first fight, man, he gave John Jones a run for his money. But now he's here on heavyweight, in the heavyweight division, and I mean, obviously, the heavier you are, the more power you're gonna bring as well behind those punches, behind the kicks. But Fabricio Werdum, man, is a black belt. He's an ex-champion in the division. He's beat Cain Velasquez. He's beat the best. But his last fight, he didn't look too good at all. And I think Alexander Gustafsson will get this finish fairly quick. I think it'll be a KO first round by Alexander Gustafsson, the Mauler. And then it goes on to the co-main event. Mauricio Hua versus Antonio Nogueira. Nogueira brothers are one of the reasons I actually started watching the sport. One of my very first cards I actually purchased myself was Nogueira versus Cain Velasquez, and I believe that was in New Zealand or Australia, one of those, and that was one of the very first fights I personally purchased. So, and I've visited their gyms down south in Southern California, and but then also Shogun Hua is an absolute monster for the obvious reasons. And he's only lost, I think, one fight in since 2014, but he also only fights about once a year, so that kind of washes. But Shogun Hua is an absolute monster. I think the only time he's lost once since 2014. I think it was to Anthony Smith, and Anthony Smith actually competed for the title. So once again, I think Shogun Hua will get the victory here. Like I said, a lot of these cars do have a lot of miles on them, or these cars have a lot of miles on them, and it's gonna be fun. It's third time they're fighting. I think the first time they fought was in Pride, and yeah, I think Shogun Hua will get the victory. I think Shogun Hua will KO Nogueira in the first round, even though Nogueira is a absolute monster. But he is, like I said, they're both up there in age, but Nogueira has taken a lot of damage. And Shogun Hua, first round KO. Then that brings us to the main event. Robert Whitaker versus Darren Till. This is going to be a barn burner in my opinion. But I think and I believe that Robert Whitaker will get the job done. Robert Whitaker presses forward. He has that blitz-like style when he comes to punch you. And Darren Till, he leans back and he tries to punch a little, not as well as Israel Adesanya, but he does leave some sides open. Like when he does lean back and he does punch forward, he does leave one of his sides open, no matter what hand he's throwing. And so I think Robert Whitaker will get the job done here. I can see this going all the way to the decision, but betting wise, I think this will end in the fourth round. I think Robert Whitaker will get the job done via KO. Yes, I said a lot of KOs on this card, which makes this card very exciting. It has a lot of high expectations, especially from the hardcore fans, and we know what a lot of these guys are capable of, and women are capable of. And so, like I said, Robert Whitaker has gone 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, has fought Israel Adesanya. Darren Till has faced Kelvin Gastelum, has faced Cowboy Cerrone, and has faced some high competition as well. But I think Robert Whitaker gets this job done in the fourth round via KO. Last card we went 3 for 5 on our picks, so it wasn't too bad. But you know, let's try to make it 5 out of 5. But I really hope everybody enjoys the card tomorrow. And like I said, I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody who supports me. I appreciate everybody who shares the videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as always via Instagram, Twitter, text, whatever the case may be. Like I said, have a safe weekend. Wear your goddamn mask. Wash your hands. I'm out.